Hi, everybody. My name is Jack Diorio, and I am a senior in computer science, but I'm also working towards a master's in complex systems and data science. That is not how it started out, though. So I'm going to take you on a quick journey through how I got here. Grew up in Rhode Island, smallest state in the Union, represent. Ocean state as well, so I was never far from the coast, which was awesome because I loved the salt air and the bluffs and the sound of the waves hitting the shore. So I was outside pretty much all the time, like as much as I could be. But as anybody who has grown up in the region over the past few decades or so will know, the effects of climate change have been observable, to say the least, right? Winter's gone. Where'd the snow go? Last season was nice. I don't see much of it anymore. Grew up in winter wasteland, not winter wonderlands. It's kind of weird. And the effects of climate change on the ocean level has also been drastic. I remember going to different beaches in my hometown and looking at the stretch of sand before me and then turning to a picture on the wall from my parents' time and seeing 3 times as much beach there for everybody to enjoy. So whenever I was faced with this grim reality, I understandably got a little bit anxious, I think, and would retreat to programming. My father's a computer scientist, and he taught me to code from a very young age. And so I spent most of my life playing outdoors, but also programming indoors. And one of those is a much better career. So I decided I was going to be a computer scientist. And eventually, it came time to look for my next home. And I decided I was going to go on the Princeton College Search website and type in things about where I wanted to be, New England, what I wanted to do, computer science. And I hit enter and looked at the results. And the top result, and it honestly might have been an advertisement, said University of Vermont. I clicked on it, read their mission statement, sustainability, cares about natural systems, acknowledging those who tended the earth beneath our feet before we got here. That's awesome. Love all of that. What else? What about my career? I go to the computer science department page. I scroll around. Looks stellar, looks fantastic. Looks like they're gonna provide me with everything I need to succeed in the field. So okay, we'll do UVM. I read up the application letter, not thinking I'm gonna get in. I was a horrible student in high school. And lo and behold, I was accepted, which was fantastic. And as soon as I got the acceptance letter, I knew that this is where I wanted to be. So I had my parents ship me up and move me in. And then soon it was time to wave goodbye, and I was off to dart and pursue my dreams of becoming a software engineer, yeah. And maybe even get better at skiing while I was at it, right? Don't miss an opportunity. But as anybody who has been to college might be able to tell you, you don't get to pick your courses first semester, first year. They pick a lot of them for you, which was frustrating, right? It's like I had a whole passion and purpose and I selected a major, like I had a reason to be here. I felt like I knew what I wanted to do. Turns out it was a blessing in disguise, of course, because I was put into a class named Design Innovation. And the first topic they mentioned when I sat down on my first day was climate change. Oof. I immediately felt so anxious, like I did before, learning about it in high school and grade school. And John Erickson, a professor here at UVM, said that the current generation of students grew up learning climate science in the classroom. So when we get a first year through the door, it's not news to them. We don't need to be teaching about climate change. We need to be teaching about climate action. And that is exactly what Design Innovation intended to do. As soon as everybody was up to date on the terminology of climate change, we started talking about climate action and what people around the world are doing to combat it. Organizations, nonprofit, academic, or otherwise, were chipping away at the problem, and they were doing a good job. Their results had some success. And now I felt not anxious, but responsible. If you're telling me that I can have a part to save the world, I want to be on that train, right? I want to be doing that. So that gave me a big decision, which was either save this, ooh, or do this, ooh. And it sounds silly now, but the decision at the time paralyzed me, right? Because, of course, I love nature. I love the world over. I want to walk between classes and see that the caps of Mount Mansfield have snow on them. That's fantastic. But also, I just spent my whole life preparing to do this. I can't throw that away now, can I? Right? Felt wrong. Thankfully, there was a third option. I took a class junior year titled Chaos, Fractals, and Dynamical Systems with Professor Danforth. And he introduced me to some wonderful place called the Vermont Complex Systems Institute. Beautiful. I walked in with wide eyes, hungry for information, anybody to talk to. First guy I met, Professor Hébert Dufresne, awesome individual. Showed me around, taught me everything I needed to know about the Vermont Complex Systems Institute and the amazing work that they do there. Taught me more vaguely what complex systems is all about and what modeling them can do. Well, turns out one of the most well-studied and thought about complex systems in the world is the climate. That's handy, right? The weather app on your phone when you want to know what you should pack for the day. It's not just a guess, it's math. It's a computer algorithm. It's a computer algorithm designed to read data from the climate and predict what's going to happen next, which was fascinating to me. You're saying that I can predict the future from computers? And a more souped-up version of what's happening on your phone in the weather app predicted that climate change was going to happen in 1970. Can you imagine how stressful those past 50 years have been for those people, right? So, okay, that's a step in the right direction. I don't have to just be programming apps. I can be predicting the future. That's kind of cool. What are some other complex systems, I asked my professors, that I could maybe model? Modeling epidemics is a huge one over the past 5 years. I mean, right? Because how could it not be? Complex systems institutes have been focusing on epidemiology like no other. And we no longer have to worry about hearsay or prevailing wisdom as to when it's going to end, when the next one is going to happen, when an epidemic is going to ravage through a population, and how many people need to be vaccinated to get it to stop. We have things like the herd immunity threshold, which is just an equation that tells us when it's going to stop. We have other equations telling us how to stop it. And okay, so that saves lives. You're saying that if you love computer science and you can do math, that you can predict the future and save lives? Complex systems was starting to look kind of like Wizard and Magicry, which was awesome. And then I thought back to the original question. Okay, climate change. What can we do about that? Well, who could forget that during the COVID-19 lockdown, we did kind of fix climate change for a second, right? Early April of 2020, CO2 daily emissions were reduced by 17%. That's 17 million tons of carbon dioxide a day. That's a significant amount. That was enough to make a difference. And we didn't get at that number by guessing. We didn't just, come up with it. And we certainly didn't go out and try to measure all of it. That was complex systems. That was us looking at how our industry affects the climate and how epidemics can affect our industry, as well as taking in so much other data, like the economy, transport networks, things like that, right? And getting them all together and kind of marrying them in a way and saying, okay, what do we need to do to fix this problem? Making a prediction like this, backing it with data, that shows us that this problem is not invincible. We really can save the world through this. Beautiful to me. And I found my calling in it immediately. I know that this is what I want to do for the foreseeable future, for sure. But what can you do? It's a tough question, right? Because I feel like most people, when they're faced with saving the world, are paralyzed a little bit by fear and choice, which is understandable, right? Rightfully so. Global sustainability is not a small goal to achieve. It feels kind of like a light in the distance that you're always striving for but never reaching, yeah? Like running towards it but can never get there. And so, if you feel like that, if you feel like you desperately want to help, but you don't know how, and you're letting the idea fall by the wayside every day in favor of the status quo, just know that there is another path. If you're a business person looking to make some money for your superiors and a quick buck while you're at it, or a computer scientist ready to slave away 40 hours a week for the next 30 years at some application, find out in your life where the science of sustainability is for you. Thank you.